All right. Third attempt at recording this. Okay. So, what I wanted to go through today is deciphering role play. And the reason why I wanted to talk about that is, we've been doing this for a long time, recording role playing, and it's something that I preached for a long time. But up until probably the beginning of the year, we didn't do this with every role play. We would do, pick some. If the person was really struggling, then maybe we'd record it and then listen to the recording and stuff like that. I'd instruct people, hey, maybe record yourself at the door a little bit. That would be helpful, whatever. But now every time I sit down with somebody, and I don't mean like if you're in the van and everybody's kind of yelling back and forth or whatever. I don't mean if you're just like practicing briefly in the office together, but when you're actually sitting down role playing with one of your canvassers, it's extremely important to record it and then to go over that recording. The thing that I think that I've realized over the last couple of weeks is, as I'm doing this with a lot of people, I have recordings from probably I don't know, 10 to 12 people over the last couple of weeks. Every time I'm going over the role play with them, it's like it's information that they've never heard before. Now, I know that we're training. I know that we're going on the road and we're training with people. I know that we're role playing in the van in most cases. That being said, for some reason, it's like new information to them. And so part of that is that they're only going to get what you get out of the role playing, right? They're only going to get what you put into it. Okay. And so I wanted to use a couple of these recordings to decipher some of the issues that we're seeing, and then to talk about, the system and how I would do this if I'm sitting down with somebody. So the first question is it more effective to do a bunch of pitches or to do a couple meaningful ones? I think it's much more effective to do a couple meaningful ones, and I think that we can all understand why. But I think you're only going to have a certain amount of time. So let's say that you have an hour with somebody, right? You can either have that person pitch you, 20 times, or whatever, maybe not 20, but 15 times, 10 times, or you could have them pitch you 2 or 3 times, and you could go back and decipher each one and see how they improve, from 1 to 2 to 3, right? And to me, it's a much more effective way. Practice is practice, and that's important. But it's a much more effective way to see what issues people are having. And so the way that I would sit down and do this, just kind of go through the system first, is I would sit down, and the first thing I would do is sort of lay out the rules. Now, what I mean by laying out the rules is there's a certain way that you're going to do things, and the way that you're going to play customer is going to be much more realistic than in most practices. And so there's certain things that you need from the canvassers, right? So for example, one would be, this is a real role play. No funny names, no stupid window problems. We are actually we're sitting down, and I want you to do what you do at the door. Okay. And that leads me to the second one, which is, don't do what you think I want you to do. Do what you always do. Okay. Do what you do at the door. Okay. So that's an important rule to this, because if you're getting a fake, interpretation, an impression of what they're doing, a fake impression of what they're doing at the door, it's not going to be helpful. Definitely not as helpful. Stuff will shine through, but it's not as helpful as if you're getting an actual real idea of what's going on. Okay. The third rule is let them know not to stop and pause. They wouldn't do that at the door. So assume if they're stopping and pausing, that's the point that they're walking away from the appointment, typically if they're at the door. Okay. And let them know, I guess lastly, let them know that you are going to base your objections off what they say. Usually. Now, what I mean by usually is that obviously you're going to give them objections. If they say everything perfect, you're just going to give them basic objections and stuff like that. But just let them know those things beforehand so they kind of have an idea of what to expect. Because you want to get the most out of this. And part of getting the most out of it is that they have to know their part, right? Okay. Second, after that, get on to role play number 1. Okay. And so the first thing that you're gonna do is do the role play with them. Okay. Have them go through the entire thing. For some people, you might focus on the first half of the script. You might do the whole script. You might do, in some cases, I guess, the second half of the script, depending on what their issue is. But role play number 1 should be pretty complete typically. I like to do the full script on role play number 1 from point A to point Z, everything involved. And I like to give them objections. And again, what they say should impact at least how I do the role play and the objections that I give, which I'll go through here soon. So they do the role play. Okay, then the first thing that you'll do is listen through and stop at each issue that you see, regardless of how significant. Okay, regardless of how significant. So at after you do the role play, okay, listen through and stop at each point where they have an issue, which I'll show you in a second what I mean when we start going through some of the role plays. Okay, the second thing, okay, you'll listen to it again, listen a second time, but stop after each section and go through the major issues, the things that are going to give them the heaviest impact. Okay, and then finally, third thing is make sure you show them how their pitch is interacting with itself. Now, what I mean by that is that if, let's just say, for example, that you're going to hear one pitch where the guy says to me, I say I'm not interested, and the guy says something along the lines to me of like, well, yes, sir, I know you have a lot of other important things to do right now, like maybe the roof or the flooring or the kitchen or something like that, right? So, I mean, it's a ridiculous thing to say, but that's sort of besides the point. You'll see that in that pitch. I use that later on. Like you said, there's probably a lot of things that I have to do, that are more important than the windows, right? And I'm doing that based on what they say to me, right? So that's what it has to do with. It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with me as a customer and everything to do with what they've said as an employee, as a chemist, right? So that's what I would do. All right, so you go through that pitch, all right, and then you go into pitch number 2, role play number 2, if you got the time to, and you'll do the same steps, okay? The only thing that you'll add, okay, which I guess I'll put as number 4 here, not money, so number 4 here is show them the difference in their pitch, if there is one. Okay. So you'll do everything the same, but then show them the difference in their pitch. And if you can get to role play number 3, let's see, you get the same steps as 1 and 2, except for the only difference is that you are isolating the parts of the script or pitch that are of largest concern. Okay. So you're isolating more, and I'll get more into that too. But so, here's an example. I'm role playing with the guy the other day, and I realized that every time I apply pressure to him during objections, he changes how he interacts with me as a customer. He gets very choppy in the way that he's speaking. It causes him a lot of different issues. And so, in our third role play, we started isolating out different parts of rebuttals and objections. Okay. So I know this isn't the most fun thing to go over in the world, but it's extremely important in our job that we can effectively do this, because this makes an impact on our guys. All right, let's listen to a couple pitches. Okay, so we're going to go with a pitch that, let's see. Now, I understand the audio might not be fantastic. Okay, I'm trying my best. Let's go first with one that I did a couple weeks ago on November. Let me see which one this is.
Main Street. And as I was walking up to your house, I didn't notice that the
Okay.
by Anderson, and we're working in the neighborhood.
All right, this is one that I did on November 5th, okay, with one of our guys. All right, now hopefully you can hear this. I really hope you can, because there's no way that I'm going to be able to tell until after this video whether or not you can. So hopefully you do.
Hello. Hello, my name is Quinn Hatchery, Mr. Jones. I am, yes. Well, it's nice to meet you, sir. I'm with Renewal by Anderson, and we're working in the neighborhood right now. We're working for a couple people. Actually, Mr. Gonzaki down the street here on 123 Main Street. And as I was walking up to your house, I did notice that this bay window right here, it has a lot of working going on. But before I get into that, sir, can I ask you how long you lived in the home for?
Yeah, I've been here for like 6 months. We're pretty new to the neighborhood.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, so you're pretty new to the neighborhood then.
Yep.
Well, I have noticed this. I didn't want to be the bearer of bad news. Warping is a very severe issue, especially with the cold season here. You after warping, you do start to notice the condensation and draftiness. It is kind of a spider web of issues after that. Do you know though? Because I know you said you're a newer homeowner. When did you get these replaced, sir?
Well, I didn't get them replaced.
Okay. So I'm going to pause there. This is probably the first point I would have paused at in the pitch, maybe a little bit before this, but my main note for this guy here would, on a basic level, would be you are adding way too much to the script and the window problems, and it is taking away from your mission. And then as specific examples, I would give him the example there of whenever he asked me how long I lived in the home, and I said not that long, a year or 6 months or whatever I said, and then he follows up with something like, oh, I was gonna say, yeah, you're a new homeowner, I was gonna say. And then he proceeds to ask me how old the windows are or whatever. Okay. I don't know. We just established I'm a new homeowner. You can assume that. And then he goes into a long rant about something about drafts and how spiderweb issues can come up after that. But definitely drafts are going to be coming up. And now we're 55 seconds in, and I haven't agreed to anything. I have no idea what he's talking about now. As a customer, I'm starting to turn off. And so that's what, when I'm playing this customer for him, that's what I'm doing. When I'm playing that customer with him, I'm trying to make it clear that I don't care. I don't care. You did not pique my interest quick enough. And then when I'm going over role play with him, I'm going to have to be honest with him about what the problem is, about the fact that when I'm going over it with him, about the fact that he did not pique my interest, that he did not do a good job of keeping me engaged as a customer. And we're only 55 seconds in. Okay. So what happens when you don't keep a customer engaged? They start to object. They start to give you problems. And that's what you're going to see here in a second.
I've been here for 6 months.
Okay, so I'm assuming it was the previous homeowner.
It was, yeah. But like you said, I mean, they're pretty.
Needless questions like that, right? So he says to me, let's just kind of recap. I'm going to back up 15 seconds.
Issues after that. Do you know though? Because I know you said you're a newer homeowner. When did you get these replaced, sir?
Okay, I know you said you're a new homeowner. Keep in mind, I said either 6 months or a year, so not long at all. Okay, I know you're a new homeowner. When did you get these replaced? So he's priming me up for me to be able to say, oh no, they're brand new. Okay, so you're setting yourself up for failure by inviting objections from customers based on excuses you are handing them. It's not a comfortable feeling to do that with customers, but we've all been there before, and that's what he's doing. So he says to me, I know you're a new homeowner, but do you know when you got the windows replaced? No, I don't. I'm a new homeowner. I did not get them replaced, right? So you'll see what happens here.
Well, I didn't get them replaced. I mean, I've been here for 6 months.
Okay, so I'm assuming it was the previous homeowner.
It was, yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming it was a previous homeowner. Well, obviously, right? Obviously. So again, and I don't mean to be a dick, and I probably wouldn't be in front of them. I probably wouldn't be a jerk in front of them. But you know, I have to say, like, if it wasn't me, then by default, it was obviously a previous homeowner, right? And so it's a needless question.
Yeah, but like you said, I mean, they're pretty new. So I mean, I don't think I'm gonna be doing them anytime soon.
Like you said, they're pretty new. I'm not going to be doing them anytime soon. Okay, he gave me the idea that they're new. Now I believe that they are new.
When we bought the house, they said that they had done them relatively recently.
Okay, so you probably, I'd say probably within the 2-year range then.
He just dated the windows 2 years. Okay. Okay. So then I would definitely go over that as well. Canvasser dated the windows on his own. He did it on his own. Okay. On his own volition. He dated the windows as 2 years old. That's insane. Like, why would you do something like that, right? But and I'm not trying to knock this guy because there's a reason why it gets this bad, which we'll go over as well. But so far we are 1 minute and 13 seconds in, okay, and I've seen 5 different reasons for this appointment to cancel. Okay,
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
and as a customer, you're getting
the
frustrated.
vinyl windows, they have a life expectancy of 7 to 10 years. But I shouldn't be seeing these issues already with the windows. And like I said, there's gonna be a spider web issues, even though you're a newer homeowner. So I know your financial market right now is a little low. Could I make a suggestion?
Okay. So he just said again that, like I said, there's going to be a spider web of issues. That does not make any sense at all. Okay, at all. And then he told me that I have no money. Okay, so in a disrespectful way, and he doesn't mean it disrespectfully, but he says to me, "I know that your financial situation is not good right now." So the canvasser tells me, the customer, that my financial situation is not good for purchasing windows. Not really the best thing to do, right?
Since we're already in the area.
You can make a suggestion. I'm not doing anything with the windows if that's your suggestion, but
Yeah, no, I completely understand, sir. The suggestion I was gonna make, I would get a foreman out just to take a look at the windows for you. Make sure what needs to be done and what you would like to be done. If we cannot be of service to you, we'd happily recommend somebody else and get out of your hair. If we can though, we'll show you the installation process, and if you like what you see, we'll take some measurements and leave you with a price. That way, when you are ready to do something, you'll know what it'll cost. Does that sound helpful, sir?
no.
Yeah, and plus, sir, I wouldn't be able to catch you on the day you're ready by windows anyway. But the whole goal of this visit is to discuss all the options and any questions that you have. Now, you are Mr. Jones, right? That's even though you're a newer homeowner?
Yeah, I am, but I'm not. Look, I'm not. I mean, like you said, the windows are 2 years old. I'm not going to do these. You know?
Right. But
Okay, so let me just point out there. Canvasser used the word or words "not ready to buy" instead of "not ready to replace." And it does make a difference. And again, you want to point out everything. There's ways to, so you can point out everything without making this a major point. But keep in mind, as a customer, what did I say? I did not give him a new objection. I said, no, like you said, they're only 2 years old. I'm not going to do the windows right now because they are only 2 years old, like you said, right?
you're still having these issues with them, and especially with the.
Not really, man. Not really. I haven't noticed anything. I mean, you can come up and point out the problems or whatever, but I haven't noticed any problems. So I'm good. I'm not doing the windows anytime soon.
Yeah, and it's gonna happen in the next couple of months, just because the cold season and the severity of the warping already. Even though they're a little bit newer windows, but I do have your last name is Jones. What is your first, sir?
My first name is Paul. I appreciate that, but I'm definitely not doing the windows, man. So I'm good. I'm not interested at all. Not even a little bit. Like there's nothing that you can do to set up this appointment right now.
Yeah, no,
I was joking with him at the end, but obviously because the appointment had gone so far away, I'm saying there's nothing that you can do to save it because that's realistic. That is realistic role play. You've now worked yourself out of an appointment for no reason. There's no reason for it, right? So the problem is that when a lot of people listen to that role play, they see you're not going over enough window problems. You're not getting commitment to enough window problems. You're not rebuttaling enough. You're not making any personal connections. Fine, all those things can be fair. Those are not the problem. Okay, those are not maybe the window problem thing, but those are not the big issue here. The big issue here is this. This is the biggest highlighted problem. Adding way too much to the script and window problems, and it's taking away from your mission. Okay, all these other things fall as part of that, but that is the major issue. That is a major point of concern. Okay. And so it's important to point that out. So what I would do, and in the interest of time, I'm not going to do, but what I would do is I would listen to that again, and I would segment it, and I would not make this many notes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the person these notes, and I'm going to give them the segmented notes as well. Okay. Or have them, and I might have them write them down. I might just record them, just like I'm doing right now with this. And I have to do today for something. Okay, which I'm going to do right after this. And then that will be a good example of what I'm going through, with that person that has gone from a 3 lead a day guy to a 0 lead a day guy that went from writing in half of last month, 38 appointments to writing 6 appointments halfway through this month. Okay. How does this happen? Right. It happens because of a lack of oversight, from a management perspective. And you might think that's not happening on my team. That guy's on one team. I get it. I could do this with somebody from every team, and it's going to be the same no matter what team it is, whether it's Northwest or here in Central. This just happens to be an example that I'm using. Let me find another example because I did a couple pitches with that guy. So give me 1 second here. I'm gonna pause for 1 second.
I stopped by you today. 123 Main Street. We're working with them now too. But I was walking up to your house and I did neighborhood actually. With that being said though, I didn't think the fair bad news was big. It will start to lead to a lot of issues, especially when people see these here. It's going to lead to the condensation and draftiness. Are the 2 main problems that you're going to start to notice. But I know you said you're a newer, you've been here for 6 months. Can I ask you, sir? Can I ask you, sir? When was the last time these windows were replaced?
I have no idea. I just moved in.
Okay. So I'm guessing the previous homeowner again probably did them, some time ago. These windows, they do look around 8 to 10 years old.
All right, go ahead. Hello, how can I help you?
Hello, my name is Quentin Hatcher, Mr. Jones.
Okay, this one is from October 28th. Okay, October 28th. So we're gonna go through. This is the same person. Okay, so this one's a little bit before that previous one. Okay, I'll say this about this one. We're gonna do some other people's too. So I'm not just picking on this guy. But I just want to use a couple examples surrounding the same person. So you're gonna see this one's a little bit different.
All right, go ahead. Hello, how can I help you?
Hello, my name is Quentin Hatcher. Are you Mr. Jones?
Yes, I am. What's up?
That's nice to meet you, sir. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm with Renewal by Anderson, and we're in the neighborhood right now working for quite a few people. And actually, your neighbor here, Mrs. Gonzaki, we're actually working with her now too.
Yeah, look, man, I'm just gonna tell you straight up, I'm not gonna be doing any windows anytime soon. I'm just not interested.
Oh yeah, no, sir, I completely understand. I wouldn't expect you to. You probably have other projects to do. Something more important like a roof or maybe some flooring. Something that is more more important than windows. But I just wanted to say that's not why I'm here. We are in the
Okay, that's the first mistake is 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds in, okay? I say I am not interested right now. And he responds with dot, dot, dot. There are other projects that are more important, like the floors, etc. Okay, that's like the worst thing that you can respond with, because now again you're giving me an objection that I didn't have. My lack of interest could have been rooted in a million different things, but now you just told me that the floors, something that is not as important to most people and in most situations, that the floors are more important than the windows. Something that is not going to save you any energy efficiency. I mean, I guess for the most part, at all, that's more important than the windows. Okay. The roof I get, I still wouldn't say that, but the roof I get maybe you could argue could be more important, but you're inviting that objection. It doesn't make any sense at all. That's 30 seconds in. So you're assassinating your own appointment just seconds into the pitch. Okay.
neighborhood right now, like I said, working for your neighbor. And I just wanted to bring something to your attention that I noticed walking around. I noticed that you had two rotting wood windows on the side here, but the bay window, it looks like it just got replaced. But before I get into that, can I ask you what you've been home for?
Yeah, I've been here only for like a year, so I really don't know what's been done already, and it's not that we have a lot of projects. I just, I just be able to do the windows. I mean, the economy's tough right now, and I just don't think it's something that we're going to be able to do. So,
Yeah, man, trust me, I completely understand, man. I can't even buy apple juice. Apple juice is so expensive. But,
yes, it is.
The apple juice line, I don't have an issue with it. He said, yeah, and I said, the economy the way it is and stuff like that. And there was some other stuff in there too. I'm just trying to be, I'm trying not to pick out every single little thing, but the apple juice line, the problem with it is that he had been waiting to say that forever. Okay. He had told me about that. I'm actually going to capitalize it. The apple juice line. Okay. He had told me about it before. Oh yeah, I do this great thing. It's funny. Customers love it. So he's waiting for a spot to place this apple juice line. And he did this in the two pitches that we did that day. He did this apple juice line thing. And so whatever, like if you say that, then fine. I guess some customers might think it's funny. Other customers might pity you and feel bad for you, but it should not be that important to your pitch that you're like, okay, cool. At some point, I'm going to be able to drop this. This is going to work. It's going to be great. You have to temper your expectations significantly around something like that. So keep in mind, I'm giving an objection about the economy. Okay.
I know you said you lived here for a year, so you are pretty new to the home then?
I am, yeah.
Okay, do you know if the bay window just recently got replaced, like while you were here, or did the previous homeowner replace it?
Well, it definitely wasn't when I was here, so I can tell you that for sure, because I would know, but,
Okay, so the next line, and I know I keep pausing, but and again, this is what I'm going to do, because this issue came up twice, and the first time I didn't miss it, but I kind of let it go. Okay, so that is you keep bringing up the newer bay window. You told me it was new. You told me you could tell it is new. and get a little space down here. And then you focused in on it. The biggest thing is just why? Why? You know what I'm saying? There's no way, it's not gonna benefit the appointment at all. All it's doing is getting you deeper and deeper in the weeds with the customer, and there's no reason at all for it.
Probably the previous owner. I don't know anything about windows, so I mean, the windows seemed okay to me. There was a couple, sure, that on the side, like you pointed out there, but I mean, the rest of them seemed pretty fine, so I wasn't really paying any mind to them.
Yeah, no, and again, I completely understand, and I'm glad that you have this window. It does look new, like I said, so I'm glad you did have this recently done, or with a previous owner, previously did it for you.
He's now spent a collective 50, almost 50 seconds out of 2 minutes and 4 seconds on the new window that he keeps telling me is good, and that he's happy for me that it's been replaced.
And I know with the rotting windows, that is a severe issue because the winter time's coming up. And these are older windows. You can't really prevent old age from happening. So there's just going to be multiple issues happening with these windows on the side, especially with condensation and drafting. This is going to be your two big ones that you're going to start to notice here in the next couple of months.
Yeah, I know you can't prevent old age from happening. My wife's been trying for the last 30 years, but it's just not something that we're going to do anytime soon, man. But
Okay, so before we get out of the window problem section, I'm not really going to write this down, but I'm just going to say that because we're going to go over this a little bit after. One of the biggest things that I've been talking about, and I don't think that it's talked about enough, is that when you're getting objections in the window problem section, I mean, he's not getting any window problems from me at all. He's just rattling off different things about windows, different semi-facts, I call them, because they're not like all real facts. Some of them are, some of them are not. About windows, and that's it. He's not getting any window problems from me. But in doing this, he's irritating me as a customer. I keep objecting in the window problems because I have no interest in going over the window problems. I keep objecting in the window problems because I don't think that I have window problems, or I don't think that they're that important. And so you got to get a hint at some point. I'm not, like I said to another guy the other day, I'm not trying to make you not go through window problems. I want you to go through window problems at every house. I want you to get window problems at every house. But what I am saying is that there's a certain amount of customers that are not going to give you window problems, that don't care enough to give you window problems. And you're losing those people by getting stuck in the window problems, by not moving on to the value of the visit after multiple objections. So just a side note that we're going to talk about after.
But I definitely appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, but before I go here, I just want to say, can I make a suggestion? Because I know you just moved in the home, so I would love to help you out. And it's free of charge. What I was going to suggest, if I could make that suggestion.
I mean, you can make a suggestion. Yeah, I would hope that.
So he just said, could I make a suggestion? It's completely free of charge, what I was going to suggest. Okay, so he's way over justifying. He's, from what it sounds like, again, the customer doesn't know what we are doing. So he just said to the customer, essentially, can I make a suggestion? It is a free suggestion. The suggestion I want to give you is free. So he repeated that in there. I believe it was something like that, very close to that wording. Why? And I'll tell you the why here in a second, because this opens up enlightening conversation, and you can get to see, where this person is thinking and what has got them down this path. Now, when I go over this guy's numbers with you, you're going to be like, oh, wow, okay, that makes a lot more sense now. So we're going to go over the rest of this pitch, and then we'll go over, this guy's numbers and sort of what the end result is.
Your suggestion's free of charge. That would be rough if it wasn't, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, awesome, sir. What I was going to suggest is for a foreman to come out. It's just to scope out the windows for you, give you some energy tests, get you the information on and tell you what's wrong with it. And if we can't be of service to you, we'll happily recommend somebody else. If we can, though, we'll give you a demonstration on how these windows are installed. We'll also give you a measurement. It's a set price, too. It's good for a full year, so that when you are ready to do something, you'll know exactly what it'll cost, and you have this as an option, too. Does that sound beneficial to you at all?
Not at all right now. I mean, yeah, definitely not at all right now. But I appreciate your time, though. I really do.
Yeah, and that's where I would get stuck.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay, so he says, and that's where I would get stuck. Okay, So first of all, scope, as he said, scope out the windows, it's just silly language. I would point that out just because it's silly language. It's like street language. Okay. But the biggest thing that the couple big things there in addition, are A, because this guy's going, man, I don't know how I get past this. I don't know how I get into the next rebuttal. Okay, so the first thing I'd say there is that you are getting the objections you are getting because of what you are saying. So you shouldn't have to need to know what to do there because you shouldn't have to do it. Okay. That being said, you should know what you have to do there, but you shouldn't need to know what you have to do there in that situation. Okay. Lastly, with that, it's a basic rebuttal. You are at the value of the visit, and someone said not interested. Like, break it down. I didn't, and of course, sir, like I had already mentioned, and I just want to apologize, sir. Like I'd already mentioned, is that the goal of the visit is to go over your options, answer your questions, and leave you with a quote good for 1 full year. So we can come on and see. I have your last name is Jones. What's your first? Right? Okay, something like that. I'm trying to now recuperate, from what he had already said in the pitch, and so it's tough. That's why I apologize randomly in there. I probably wouldn't do that because again, I wouldn't have said all this other stuff up here that would have caused this to happen down here. Here's the problem, guys, right? So let's break this down quick. And then I'm going to end this video and then I'm going to go into another video, make another video, going through some more scripting, where we left off. So this is kind of a 2-part thing. So then people can go back and listen to the different scripting. I also want to listen to this and make sure that you can hear the recording through it. So I'm going to finish up this one, then we'll make a separate video for the next one. So here's the thing you have to remember is that what's happening here is that a lot of times managers are going through and they're only figuring this out. They're saying, why did you end right there? You didn't rebuttal. You didn't rebuttal. I mean, your rebuttals. You should be able to rebuttal. So they're missing most of this stuff up here, all this stuff, and it's being chalked up to right here. As I always say, this is not the problem. This is not where the problem begins. This might be a problem as well, but the problem did not begin at, it's a basic rebuttal and you're not doing it, okay? The problem began at, and it can all be chalked up to, in just simple language of this. You are adding way too much to the script and window problems, and it's taking away from your mission. So there's a bunch of other steps in there in between, okay? And you see how I'm kind of stacking that, like sandwiching it. There's a bunch of other steps in there in between. There's a bunch of evidence that exists, that problem, and it's leading up to this, okay? But this is not the core problem. You got to look 2 steps ahead. Now, here's the deal with that guy, right? That guy was averaging 2.5 leads per day. That guy had an 8 demo week. He had a 6 demo week. He had multiple 6 demo weeks. He had multiple 5 demo weeks. That guy was doing well. And then all of a sudden, he didn't go from 2.5 leads a day to 1.5. He went from 2 to less than 1, to almost none, almost 0 leads per day, right? And that went on for almost 2 weeks, okay? The day that me and him sat down and script tested, the first day we did, okay? So even before he fixed this stuff right here, which I would say he's probably still working on, or the first pitch rather, this stuff right here. I said, listen, break down to the core of your script. You got to start over, man. That's where we're at. You need to start over, okay? No personal connections, no nothing, just scripting. That's it. And he went out and got 3 that day, or 4 that day, okay? And now he's somewhat back on track. We're still working with him, but this guy just deteriorated from great top guy to 0 overnight, seemingly, okay? Now we know why, okay? So here's the deal. So this is what I would do. Now I would listen to that a second time and break down the core points in each part, in each section, okay? And then give the guy a summary kind of like this, with some, prescriptions for that problem. All right. So we're going to make a second video going through some more scripting. I'll talk to you guys soon. I appreciate it. And I hope that you're getting something from this. Thank you.